alien researcher shocked by surprising growth between human males' legs. The humans had arrived a week ago on the research vessel Horizon, and the Korathi team was still learning how to interact with them. Linac's sensors were designed to detect anything unusual in biology, and so far, humans had shown many strange traits. But nothing had shocked her as much as what she was about to see. Adam Cole was a young human male chosen to participate in a routine physiology study. He was tall, with a sturdy build, and his movements were careful but confident. Linac observed him from behind a transparent shield as he entered the scanning chamber. The chamber was small, with softly glowing panels and strange machines humming quietly. A team of human scientists, led by Dr. Lisa Brown, guided Adam to the central platform. "Good morning, Adam," Lisa said with a friendly smile. "We'll start with some simple scans today. Nothing painful, I promise." Adam nodded, though he looked slightly nervous. Linac could sense his subtle anxiety through the air vibrations and heat patterns. Humans were fascinating in how their emotions affected their bodies. Unlike the Kalari or other species she had studied, humans showed clear biological changes when they felt stress, fear, or pride. Linac activated her scanning instruments and began observing. She focused on the muscular and circulatory systems first. The data streamed into her portable analyzer, highlighting areas of heat, energy, and activity. Most of it seemed normal, but one reading made her sensors beep. It was located near the lower body of Adam, in an area she had never studied before. The readings suggested a rapid growth in size and energy, but it was temporary. Her internal databases had no match for this phenomenon. Linac's antenna twitched nervously. She had seen many species adapt in extreme ways, but nothing like this. "What is happening there?" she whispered into her communicator, almost forgetting that humans did not understand her language. Lisa noticed Linac's interest and tilted her head slightly. "Oh, that's nothing unusual," she said calmly. "It's just a normal human response, nothing to worry about." Linac's sensors disagreed. The readings were intense and powerful. To her, it looked like a defensive growth, a structure that could be used to fight or attack. She scanned it again, but the result was the same. She decided to record everything carefully. She had to report this to the council later. Adam shifted slightly on the platform. He was relaxed but unaware of the alien's surprise. Linac noted how the human body could change in subtle ways without conscious thought. She had studied survival adaptations before, but humans seemed to combine physical and emotional responses in ways she did not fully understand. "Please stay still," Lisa said. "We're measuring your muscle activity and circulation." Adam nodded and focused on his breathing. Linac adjusted her instruments, watching every pulse, every small movement. The strange growth appeared again in the data, fluctuating as Adam moved and relaxed. Linac realized it was not a permanent organ. It expanded when certain conditions were met. But why did it exist? Was it a weapon, an energy source, a tool for survival? The possibilities alarmed her. "Linac, are your readings okay?" one of the other Korathi scientists asked. They had joined her in observing the human study. Linac shook her head, or at least the human equivalent of a shake. This is unlike anything I have ever seen," she said. "The structure temporary, yet capable of remarkable energy. I must report it to the council immediately." The other scientist frowned. "Could it be dangerous? Humans are still untested in many areas. Maybe we should limit their access to the lab." Linac hesitated. She did not want to alarm the humans unnecessarily. She also knew that fear could cause misunderstanding. But the data did not lie. From a biological perspective, humans were capable of adapting in ways no other species had demonstrated. The growth, though temporary, indicated potential for strength, endurance, and protection. It could be misunderstood by anyone who did not know human biology. "We must observe more before we conclude," Linac said firmly. "Let's continue the scans under controlled conditions." Lisa noticed that Linac seemed anxious. She placed a hand on the scanner console. "Linac, we have nothing to hide. Humans are complicated, yes, but we are peaceful. You are welcome to study everything. Nothing here is harmful unless provoked." Linac studied the human woman carefully. Lisa's calm presence had a measurable effect on Adam. The strange growth in his data fluctuated slightly. Linac realized that human emotions directly influenced their biology. Courage, stress, fear, even pride, these could all trigger changes. It was unlike anything she had recorded in the Kalari, the Vekari, or the Drath species. Humans were unpredictable in a way that could be both dangerous and remarkable. Fascinating, Linak whispered into her communicator. She recorded the data meticulously, noting every spike and fluctuation. She could already imagine the Council's reaction. If they saw these readings without context, they might declare humans a threat. The scanning continued for another hour. Linak observed how Adam's body responded to simple tasks, lifting small weights, bending, stretching, and even maintaining posture under stress. Each movement created subtle changes in the flagged area. It was adaptive, almost like a living mechanism that reacted to necessity. Linak's curiosity grew. She wanted to know how far it could go. Finally, the session ended. Adam stepped down from the platform, a bit relieved. He wiped sweat from his brow and smiled at Lisa. "That wasn't too bad," he said. "Kind of interesting, actually." Linak's sensors recorded his normal physiology returning to baseline. The temporary growth faded completely. She noted it carefully. She could see why humans often confused other species. Their bodies were designed to react, adapt, and survive in ways that seemed exaggerated to outsiders. The growth was not dangerous on its own, but its potential, combined with emotion, made humans uniquely unpredictable. "Thank you, Adam," Lisa said. "We'll have results ready soon." Adam nodded and left the chamber. Linak turned her attention to the other scientists. "We must discuss this," she said. "We cannot underestimate humans. Their biology is more advanced than we realized." The other scientist looked nervous. "You mean dangerous?" Linak shook her head. "Not dangerous in the usual sense. Adaptive, protective, capable of responding to threats in ways no other species can. We must study carefully before jumping to conclusions." She made detailed notes for the council. She included diagrams, sensor readings, and observations about emotional triggers. The council would be shocked. In their history, no species had shown such rapid, temporary biological adaptation tied so closely to emotion. Humans were not only strong physically, they were strong in a way that reflected courage, responsibility, and care for others. Later that evening, Linak watched humans interacting in the common area. Adam laughed with other researchers, telling stories of minor mistakes and awkward moments. Linak noticed subtle spikes in his physiological data even during casual conversation. The temporary growth had long disappeared, but the energy patterns showed readiness, alertness, and resilience. Humans were never truly at rest, even when relaxed. They were always capable of surprising responses. "They are remarkable," she whispered to herself. "Not monsters. Not weapons, but capable of so much more than we understand." She resolved to continue her observations. The next sessions would explore human reactions under stress, cooperation, and protective instincts. If she could understand the triggers, she could explain humans to the council without causing panic. But she also knew that this species could challenge all Korathi assumptions about biology, survival, and emotion. Linak prepared her instruments for the next day. The scanning chamber would again host humans, and she would be ready to observe every subtle change. She was determined to understand the mystery that had startled her today. Humans were more than their bodies. They were a combination of biology and spirit, emotion and instinct, reaction and courage. What her sensors called a growth was not just a body part. It was a window into the human capacity to respond, protect, and endure. As she finished her preparations, Linak looked out the observation window. Adam was walking down the corridor with other humans, laughing and moving easily. She could see the strength of their bodies, the energy of their minds, and the sparks of emotion in every gesture. She knew that the next week would reveal even more surprises. Humans were unlike anything she had ever studied, and she would not rest until she understood every detail. For the first time, Linak felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. She had expected to study a simple species. Instead, she had discovered a being whose biology and emotion were intertwined in ways she could barely comprehend. The flagged growth was only the beginning. In humans, she saw potential for strength, protection, and resilience that could redefine her understanding of life itself. And so, Linak prepared for another day of observation, knowing that humans would continue to surprise her, challenge her, and perhaps even teach her something about courage that no sensor could measure. The journey of understanding had only just begun. The next morning, Linak arrived early in the research wing. The humans were already awake, moving through the corridors with energy and curiosity. She adjusted her instruments and reviewed the previous day's data. The readings from Adam Cole had left her both fascinated and concerned. She knew the council would not understand unless she explained it carefully. Human biology was full of surprises, and their emotional responses could trigger dramatic changes that no other species had shown. Lisa Brown arrived with a small group of human researchers. "Good morning, Linak," she said with a friendly smile. "We're ready for another session if you are." Linak nodded. She could sense the subtle vibrations of human excitement in the room. Humans were unique not just in how their bodies reacted, but also in how they expressed curiosity. Even their simple gestures and smiles affected their physiology. She adjusted her sensors and prepared for observation. "Today, we'll do some controlled exercises," Lisa said. "We'll test strength, balance, and reaction. Nothing dangerous, I promise." Adam entered the chamber, stretching slightly. He noticed Linak observing him closely and waved. Linak's sensors detected a spike in both his emotional and physical energy. Humans were unpredictable, and small interactions could trigger measurable responses. The growth she had observed yesterday was not visible now, but the instrument still picked up subtle changes. She realized it could appear again under the right circumstances. The exercises began. Adam lifted light weights, performed stretches, and balanced on narrow platforms. Each movement caused changes in his muscles, heart rate, and circulation. Linak noted that the lower body region flagged again, though less intensely than yesterday. She could see it reacting to effort, stress, and concentration. To the untrained eye, it would seem like nothing, but her instruments showed a remarkable adaptation process. The human body could react quickly to challenges and recover almost immediately. "Fascinating," she whispered into her communicator. "These readings are unique. No species I have observed can do this without permanent change." Another human, a young woman named Claire Harris, joined the exercises. She moved with precision and focus. Linak observed subtle changes in Claire as well. Humans had variable responses, but all showed adaptation that combined emotion and physicality. The council would be shocked if they saw this without explanation. They might declare humans a threat. Lisa noticed Linak's intense observation. "You seem worried," she said softly. "Humans are not dangerous. We only respond when we need to. It's part of our survival, yes, but it's also tied to care and protection." Linak considered this. Her sensors recorded protective instincts as measurable energy bursts in the human body. When Adam helped Claire steady herself on the balance platform, the flagged area in his readings changed slightly, showing strength and alertness. Linak realized this was not aggression. It was response, preparation, and readiness. Humans were capable of protecting themselves and others in subtle but powerful ways. After an hour of exercises, Lisa asked the humans to rest. Adam sat down and wiped his brow. "That was harder than I thought," he said, laughing. "But I feel good. It's weird, but I can feel my body reacting." Linak studied him carefully. "Reacting how?" she asked, trying to understand the human concept. Adam looked puzzled. "Well, like my body just changes when I do stuff. It feels stronger when I need it, or faster when I focus. It's kind of automatic." Linak made detailed notes. This confirmed her hypothesis. Humans had temporary biological responses triggered by physical activity and emotional states. She had seen adaptations before in other species, but humans combined emotion, responsibility, and survival instincts in a single mechanism. It was extraordinary. The Korathi team gathered later to discuss the observations. Linak presented the data. "The flagged structure in humans is temporary but extremely adaptive," she explained. "It reacts to stress, effort, and protective behavior. It is not permanent and it is not aggressive by default. However, its potential is significant." One of the senior scientists frowned. "Linak, this could be dangerous. Humans are unpredictable. We cannot trust such a species until we fully understand it." Linak shook her head. "Dangerous? No. Adaptive, yes. Protective. Their bodies respond to the needs of themselves and others. It is remarkable, not threatening. We must study carefully, yes, but we cannot assume hostility." The discussion continued, and Linak felt frustration. The council often misunderstood humans because they lacked context. They saw only data, not behavior or emotion. If they saw the readings without explanation, they might conclude humans were biologically armed for attack. Linak knew she had to bridge the gap between observation and understanding. Later, she returned to the human research chamber. Adam and Claire were practicing reaction drills. Lisa explained the purpose. We test how humans respond to sudden challenges. It's not about fighting. It's about coordination, awareness, and quick adaptation. Adam jumped from one platform to another, carefully measuring distance. Linak observed. Her instruments picked up the subtle changes in muscle tension, heart rate, and circulation. The lower body adaptation appeared again, fluctuating with every movement. She realized that this was how humans could respond quickly to danger or responsibility. It was not aggression, it was readiness. "See that?" Lisa said, noticing Linak's attention. "Humans are reactive, yes, but we choose how to use it. That spike you see, it's temporary. It helps us survive, help others, and stay alert." Linak's sensors confirmed it. Humans were capable of incredible adaptation, but only when necessary. Their emotions directly influenced biology. Courage, concern, stress, pride, all could trigger changes. This was something no other species had developed so clearly. Humans were not only survivors, they were protectors. Adam noticed Linak observing him and laughed. "You're really studying me, huh? Don't worry, I'm not dangerous." Linak recorded the data silently. "Not dangerous," she repeated to herself. "Adaptive, protective, and remarkable must explain to Council carefully." After the session, Linak followed Adam and the humans to the common area. She watched their interactions. Humans laughed, argued playfully, and helped each other. Every gesture, every emotion, triggered measurable biological responses. Her instruments could detect readiness, alertness, and temporary adaptation. It was astonishing. Linak realized the Council might misunderstand. If they saw only the readings of temporary growth and energy spikes, they would assume danger. She needed a way to explain human behavior and biology together. Humans were more than sensors could measure. They were emotion, instinct, and responsibility in one. That evening, she compiled her notes. Diagrams showed the temporary adaptation, charts displayed emotional influence on physiology, and explanations tied it all to protective instincts. She reviewed every detail. The Council must understand that humans were remarkable, not a threat. Their biology was a tool for survival, coordinated with emotion, not aggression. She also considered her own reaction. She had been shocked initially, even alarmed by the temporary growth readings. Now she understood that it was not something to fear. It was something to respect. Humans had developed an extraordinary system to respond to the world, and it worked in harmony with their emotions. Courage, care, and responsibility were built into their biology. Linak slept that night thinking about humans. She recalled Adam helping Claire, laughing with others, and responding to small challenges. Every human she had observed displayed this combination of emotion and adaptation. She realized that what had shocked her the first day was only the beginning. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their unpredictability was rooted in protection and care, not aggression. The next morning, she prepared for further studies. The Council would require detailed reports, but Linak knew she must first observe more situations, how humans reacted to cooperation, danger, and responsibility. Each session would reveal more about the remarkable combination of biology and emotion that humans possessed. As she entered the chamber, Adam smiled at her. "Ready for more?" he asked. Linak smiled back, though subtly. "Yes, I want to understand more." She activated her instruments and began observing again. Every detail mattered: posture, heart rate, muscle activity, and of course the temporary lower body adaptation. She recorded it all meticulously. The Council must understand, humans were not dangerous by default. They were capable of extraordinary adaptation, guided by courage, responsibility, and care. It was unlike anything Linak had ever seen. The day passed with more exercises, more observation, and more data. Humans interacted naturally, unaware of the extent to which their bodies responded to emotion and effort. Linak observed spikes in readiness and energy, always temporary, always tied to context. She began to see a pattern. Humans were strongest not when alone, but when protecting others. The temporary growth she had initially feared was a sign of this extraordinary capability. By evening, Linak was exhausted but satisfied. She had learned much more about humans in 2 days than she had in years with other species. She reviewed her data carefully, preparing to present it to the Council. She knew the next challenge would be to explain human biology without causing panic or misunderstanding. But for now, she simply watched the humans interact, laugh, and work together. They were a living example of adaptation, emotion, and resilience, all intertwined. And Linak smiled to herself, thinking, humans were indeed remarkable. The next morning, Linak entered the research chamber with a sense of purpose. She had spent the night reviewing all the data from the past 2 days. The readings of Adam Cole and other humans had revealed remarkable patterns. The temporary lower body adaptation, the spikes in energy, and the influence of emotion on physiology were not isolated incidents. They were part of a system humans used to respond to challenges, danger, and responsibility. Lisa Brown greeted Linak with a smile. "Good morning. Today we will run some controlled simulations. It's not dangerous, but it will show how humans respond under pressure." Linak adjusted her instruments carefully. "Pressure in what sense?" she asked, curious. Her sensors already detected subtle vibrations of human excitement and caution in the room. Adam stepped forward. "We're going to do exercises that test reaction, balance, and quick thinking," he said. He looked at Linak and smiled. "Don't worry, it's safe," Linak observed closely. The human body responded almost immediately to mental and emotional cues. Even Adam's nervous anticipation caused measurable changes in muscle tension, heart rate, and circulation. The lower body adaptation she had noted earlier was still subtle, but present. She could see that it responded not just to physical stress, but to the anticipation of responsibility and protection. The first simulation involved a sudden obstacle. A small platform moved unexpectedly, and Adam had to jump to a safe area. His body reacted instantly. Linak's instruments picked up spikes in strength, speed, and balance. The flagged area near his lower body adapted, expanding temporarily to provide additional support and stability. She watched in awe. "Remarkable," she whispered. Her sensors could not measure emotion, but the human expressions were clear. Determination, focus, and a desire to succeed had triggered a measurable biological response. No species she had studied could adapt so quickly without training or artificial modification. Claire Harris was next. She had to react to a similar challenge while carrying a small weight. Her muscles tensed, her posture shifted, and her circulatory system adjusted. Linak observed the same temporary adaptation in her lower body, responding to effort and responsibility. The growth was subtle but measurable. It was designed to enhance performance when needed. Lisa explained, "Humans don't just respond to danger. We respond when protecting others, when we need to help someone, or when we feel responsible. Our bodies are designed to assist us in those moments." Linak recorded every detail. She realized that humans had developed a combination of biological and emotional adaptation. The flagged growth was a window into their ability to survive and protect. It was not a weapon, nor a permanent organ. It was a temporary response to circumstances that required strength, balance, and focus. The next simulation was more complex. A small robot moved unpredictably, creating a scenario where humans had to protect others while reacting quickly. Adam stepped forward, noticing that Claire was in the path of the robot. Without hesitation, he moved to guide her to safety. Linak's sensors immediately detected the temporary adaptation. His body's energy, speed, and strength increased subtly but significantly. Linak's eyes widened. This was exactly what she had theorized. The temporary growth was linked not just to physical effort, but to protective instincts. Humans were biologically wired to respond to responsibility for others. Their bodies could adapt instantly to ensure safety and effectiveness. The Korathi assistant beside her looked concerned. "Linak, this is alarming. Humans can respond with such power without even thinking. What if they turn aggressive?" Linak shook her head. "It is not aggression, it is protection. Observe carefully." Adam is not attacking anyone. He is reacting to a situation where someone else could be harmed. Their bodies are designed to assist, not harm. Adam guided Claire safely past the robot. Both were slightly out of breath, but smiling. The temporary adaptation in their bodies slowly returned to baseline. Linak noted how quickly the human system returned to normal after a challenge. The adaptation was temporary, precise, and tied to circumstance. It was elegant in its efficiency. "See that?" Lisa said, observing Linak's fascination. Humans are strong, yes, but only when it matters. We are reactive, not reckless. Our bodies respond to responsibility as much as danger. Linak nodded, continuing to record. She realized that humans' unpredictability came not from hostility, but from responsiveness. They were capable of extraordinary adaptation, but only under specific conditions. This explained the flagged readings she had observed before. It was a survival mechanism linked with care and protection. Over the next several hours, Linak observed more exercises. Humans ran, lifted, balanced, and responded to simulated crises. Every time the temporary adaptation appeared. It grew stronger when the humans were protecting others, when they felt responsibility, and when they faced real or perceived danger. Their bodies were in harmony with their emotions, creating a perfect combination for survival and resilience. Linak began to understand that this biological system was what made humans remarkable. They were not the strongest species naturally, nor the fastest. Their strength came from their ability to adapt under pressure, to respond emotionally and physically to circumstances, and to combine courage, focus, and care into one system. By the end of the day, Linak felt exhausted but exhilarated. She had never seen anything like it. Humans were living examples of how emotion and biology could work together. The council would need careful explanation, or they would misinterpret the data entirely. That evening, she compiled her notes. She created diagrams showing how physical effort, emotional state, and responsibility influenced adaptation. She marked the temporary growth near the lower body and its correlation with protection instincts. She realized that this single trait, misunderstood initially as something alarming, was in fact a window into humanity's unique survival strategy. Linak also considered the implications. Humans were unpredictable in a controlled way. They were adaptive, strong, and responsive. Their bodies amplified their emotions, but only in ways that served survival, cooperation, and protection. No species she had studied before combined these traits so completely. Humans were exceptional not because they were dangerous, but because they were capable of such focused, responsible adaptation. She thought of Adam. He had been calm, focused, and instinctively protective. He had acted without hesitation to ensure Claire's safety. The temporary adaptation had provided the necessary support, but it had been controlled, precise, and entirely situational. Humans were remarkable in their ability to harness such responses responsibly. Linak decided she would present a preliminary report to the human researchers first. They needed to understand how much she had observed and how seriously she was taking their species. She explained that the temporary growth was not dangerous but a measure of their unique biology. She highlighted its link to protection, responsibility, and adaptation. Adam and Claire listened carefully. "So you're saying this is normal for humans?" Adam asked, surprised. Linak nodded. "Yes, it is a normal response. It is extraordinary but not dangerous. It is part of how you survive and protect others." Adam laughed softly. "I guess I didn't know my body was that interesting," Claire smiled. "We humans are full of surprises, huh?" Linak smiled back. She felt a growing respect for the species she had been assigned to study. Humans were not monsters, nor were they weapons. They were adaptive, protective, and capable of incredible responses under pressure. Her initial shock had given way to fascination. She now understood that what she had feared was a sign of strength, courage, and care, all wrapped into one complex biological system. That night, as the humans rested, Linak observed quietly from the chamber. She watched their slow breathing, their relaxed postures, and the subtle energy that remained in their bodies even at rest. The temporary adaptation was dormant now, but the potential remained. Humans could summon it when needed, guided by instinct, emotion, and responsibility. Linak realized that the council would not understand this easily. If they saw only the readings without context, they might assume threat or danger. She had to explain that the temporary growth was a reflection of protection and care, not aggression. It was a system designed for survival and cooperation, a trait that could make humans exceptional allies or guardians. She recorded one final note for the day. Humans were remarkable not because of strength or speed alone, but because their biology and emotions were intertwined. The temporary adaptation was a signal of responsibility, courage, and focus. It responded not to desire but to need. In this, humans were unlike any other species she had encountered. And Linak knew that tomorrow, the experiments would continue. She would explore how humans responded in more complex scenarios: cooperation, leadership, and the protection of others. Each session would reveal more about the unique combination of biology and emotion that made humans so extraordinary. As she left the chamber, she thought quietly to herself. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but in a way that inspired respect, not fear. The temporary growth that had shocked her at first was not a weapon. It was a window into the heart and spirit of an extraordinary species. And Linak could not wait to learn more. Linak returned to the council chamber early the next morning. Her data on human physiology and behavior was complete, and she knew the council would need careful explanation. The Council of Korath was cautious, even fearful of new species, especially ones with biological traits they did not understand. Linak had prepared diagrams, charts, and notes detailing how humans adapted physically and emotionally. She hoped to show them that humans were not dangerous in the usual sense, but extraordinary in their ability to respond and protect. The council members took their seats, their multi-limbed forms folding gracefully as they observed her. The chamber was silent except for the faint hum of instruments monitoring the room. Linak began her presentation. "Honorable members of the council," she said, "our study of humans has revealed remarkable biological and emotional adaptation. Initial observations caused concern, but further study clarifies the nature of these traits." One elder, Kara, spoke first. "Linak, your report shows an organ or growth that appears and disappears. It is powerful and temporary. How can we be certain it is not a weapon?" Linak nodded. She expected this question. "We have monitored multiple humans in controlled exercises. The temporary adaptation you see is linked to emotional states, physical effort, and responsibility. It appears when a human faces a challenge that requires protection or quick adaptation. It is not aggressive in intent." Another member, Torv, leaned forward. "So you are saying that humans can summon this growth at will?" "Not at will," Linak corrected. "It responds automatically to circumstance. The body adapts when necessary. Courage, concern for others, and immediate physical challenges trigger it. Humans are capable of extraordinary reaction, but only under context. Outside of these conditions, their physiology returns to normal." Kara's multiple eyes narrowed. "And this is consistent across individuals?" "Yes," Linak replied. "We have observed males and females, different ages and varying physical builds. The pattern is consistent. The temporary adaptation supports strength, balance, and speed, but only in alignment with protective or survival instincts." Torv shook his head. "This is difficult to comprehend. Other species we have studied respond to threat with aggression or defense. Humans respond to responsibility as well as danger." "Exactly," Linak said. "Humans combine physical and emotional adaptation. They are strongest not when they wish to attack, but when they feel a duty to protect. The flagged readings initially interpreted as dangerous are, in fact, a sign of care, courage, and responsibility." There was a long silence in the chamber. Council members exchanged glances, antennae twitching nervously. Linak could sense their discomfort. Humans defied their expectations of survival and adaptation. The council was used to species whose physical responses were purely instinctive or aggressive. Humans were neither. They were adaptive, aware, and guided by responsibility. Kara spoke again. "If humans are so controlled, why did your instruments show such intense readings at first?" Linak gestured toward her diagrams. "The intensity corresponds to urgency and emotion. When a human anticipates the need to protect another, their body amplifies response. This is temporary. It is a biological reflection of courage and duty, not hostility." Torv's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "So humans can be strong, swift, and alert when protecting others, but they are peaceful by default." "Yes," Linak confirmed. "Humans are remarkable in how they adapt to circumstances. They are capable of great strength and endurance, but these are always tied to context and responsibility. They are guardians, not aggressors." Kara shifted in her seat. "How do you explain their unpredictability?" "Other species are stable. Humans fluctuate with emotion. Can we trust them?" Linak paused, choosing her words carefully. "Humans are unpredictable in a different way. Their unpredictability comes from responsiveness, not hostility. They respond to needs, threats, and duties. Unpredictability does not equal danger. It equals adaptability. A human may act unexpectedly, but it is almost always in alignment with protection or cooperation. Another elder, Vora, spoke, her tone skeptical. And you observed this in multiple subjects? No exceptions. None, Linak replied. We tested multiple humans in various controlled simulations. The results were consistent. The temporary adaptation supports both physical and emotional readiness. Human strength lies in their ability to combine emotion and biology. Torv leaned forward, antennae brushing against his shoulders. And what about the so-called growth? Is it permanent? Linak shook her head. Completely temporary. It appears, supports adaptation, and disappears when the need passes. It is a system of resilience and protection, not a weapon. It reflects courage and responsibility. Kara clicked his mandibles in thought. So what we feared could have been misunderstood. Humans are strong, yes, but not aggressive by default. They are capable of great adaptability in the right circumstances, and their bodies respond to care and duty as much as to threat. Exactly, Linak said. Humans are a species of guardians. Their adaptation is linked to survival, protection, and cooperation. They are unpredictable in the sense that their responses are situational, but this makes them uniquely effective and remarkable. Vora tilted her head. So humans' strength is a reflection of their spirit, not their intent to harm? Yes, Linak replied firmly. Their biology amplifies courage and care, not hostility. A human's temporary adaptation allows them to act decisively when protecting others. It is a system designed for responsibility and survival. There was a pause in the chamber. The council members studied Linak and the diagram she had presented. Slowly, the tension began to ease. The initial fear of a dangerous species was giving way to understanding. Humans were not a threat, they were remarkable. Their unpredictability was not reckless, it was adaptive. Torv clicked his mandibles again. This changes our perspective. We assumed danger because of the unknown, but what we see is extraordinary adaptation linked to emotion, duty, and protection. Humans are guardians. Linak nodded. They are, and understanding them requires more than raw data. It requires observation of behavior, emotion, and interaction. Their biology cannot be separated from their actions. What you feared as a threat is actually a reflection of courage and care. Kara leaned back, antennae relaxing. This is a revelation. Humans may be unpredictable, yes, but in a way that inspires trust, not fear. They respond to the needs of others as much as to danger. This is new, remarkable. Linak smiled subtly. It is. And it changes how we classify them. Humans are not merely another species. They are adaptive, protective, and capable of extraordinary response under responsibility. The council deliberated further, asking questions about cooperation, leadership, and teamwork among humans. Linak provided detailed observations. Humans worked well together, responded to emergencies, and displayed courage not for personal gain, but to support others. The temporary adaptation was always present in these situations, a reflection of their biological and emotional integration. By the end of the day, the council had reached a conclusion. Humans would no longer be treated as a species of unknown threat. Instead, they would be recognized as highly adaptive guardians. The temporary growth, once feared, was now understood as a measure of their courage, responsibility, and protective instincts. Linak left the chamber feeling relieved. She had bridged the gap between misunderstanding and understanding. Humans were not monsters. They were remarkable in their ability to combine biology and emotion. Their unpredictability was not a liability. It was a sign of adaptability and strength. Later, she returned to the research wing. Adam and Claire were practicing cooperative exercises, unaware of the council's deliberations. Linak observed quietly. Their bodies responded beautifully to coordination, protection, and mutual care. The temporary adaptation she had first observed was subtle now, but it still appeared when they focused on helping each other. Humans are extraordinary, she whispered to herself. Not because of raw power, but because of their courage, care, and responsibility. Their biology reflects their spirit. Adam noticed her watching and smiled. You've been studying us for a while, huh? Linak smiled back. Yes, and I am beginning to understand why humans are remarkable. Claire laughed softly. We humans have our moments, I guess. Linak recorded every subtle interaction. The humans' laughter, their cooperation, and their instinctive care all contributed to the patterns she had observed. Every response was tied to adaptation, Every spike in energy was tied to responsibility. This was a species designed not for destruction, but for guardianship. That evening, as the humans rested, Linak reviewed her data once more. She realized that the Council's understanding was only the beginning. Humans' ability to combine emotion and biology could influence interstellar cooperation, survival strategies, and alliances. Their temporary adaptation, once feared as a threat, was now a symbol of their potential. And Linak knew that the next stage of study would reveal even more about humans' unique capabilities. They were unpredictable, adaptive, and protective, and their biology reflected the very qualities that made them remarkable. She looked forward to exploring how humans would continue to surprise her, challenge assumptions, and demonstrate courage in ways no other species could. For the first time, Linak felt a sense of hope. Humans were not just a new species. They were a new perspective, a living example of how biology and emotion could work together to create extraordinary guardians of life. And she could not wait to continue her observations the next day. Linak returned to the research chamber with a sense of purpose. The Council had accepted her report, recognizing humans as adaptive guardians rather than potential threats. Yet Linak wanted to observe more, to confirm that the humans' combination of biology and emotion was consistent across different scenarios. She also wanted to see how humans would behave when faced with more complex challenges, ones that tested their cooperation, courage, and instinct to protect others. Adam Cole was already in the chamber, warming up. Claire Harris followed, moving carefully across the room. Other humans were present as well, preparing for group exercises designed to test coordination under mild stress. Linak's instruments were ready, and she began her observations. She noted every detail: posture, balance, heart rate, and the temporary lower body adaptation that had once shocked her. "Today, we'll try a group scenario," Lisa Brown explained. "It's safe, but it will test how you work together to achieve a goal while responding to unexpected challenges." The humans nodded, moving to their starting positions. Linak activated her instruments. The first challenge involved retrieving objects from moving platforms while avoiding obstacles. The humans had to cooperate and adjust quickly. As soon as the exercise began, the temporary adaptation appeared in several participants. Linak recorded how the bodies responded. Muscles tensed, circulation adjusted, balance improved, and subtle energy spikes supported rapid movement. Adam noticed Claire struggling to reach a platform and moved to help her. Linak's sensors detected a stronger adaptation in his body. It was precise, controlled, and entirely situational. She realized that humans' biological response was most pronounced when they were helping or protecting others. The Council had understood the concept, but now Linak could see it in action with multiple participants. "Remarkable," she whispered to herself. "The adaptation is amplified by cooperation and concern for others." Claire smiled at Adam as he guided her. "Thanks." "You're a good teammate," she said. Adam laughed softly. "It's what humans do, I guess." Linak noted the subtle interplay between physical adaptation and emotional connection. Humans were strongest when their actions mattered to others. Courage, care, and responsibility triggered a measurable biological response, and the response supported their actions. It was a perfect combination of body and mind. The next scenario introduced mild simulated danger. Small drones moved unpredictably, creating situations where humans had to react quickly to avoid collisions while ensuring teammates remained safe. Linak observed every reaction carefully. The temporary adaptation became more pronounced in participants who actively protected others. Muscles, circulation, and energy levels adjusted instantly, allowing humans to act with efficiency and precision. "See," Lisa said. "Humans respond to danger, yes, but even more to the responsibility of protecting others. The stronger the concern, the stronger the adaptation." Linak's sensors confirmed this. The Council had understood the principle, but witnessing it in action was different. Humans were not just capable of adaptation, they were capable of precise, situational adaptation guided by emotion and responsibility. It was unprecedented. After several exercises, the humans rested. Linak reviewed her data. She had recorded every spike, every subtle shift, and every temporary adaptation. It was consistent. Humans combined emotional intent with physical response, producing capabilities far beyond what raw physiology alone would allow. Their unpredictability was controlled, guided by care and duty. Adam approached Linak. "So you've been watching all of this, what do you think?" Linak smiled subtly. "Humans are extraordinary. Your biology and your emotions are linked in ways no other species has developed. You adapt precisely when needed, especially to protect and support others. What once seemed shocking is now a symbol of courage and care." Adam raised his eyebrows. "So we're like guardians or something?" Linak nodded. "Exactly. Your bodies are designed to respond to responsibility as much as danger. The temporary adaptation is a reflection of your capacity to act decisively when it matters most." Claire added, laughing softly. "Guess that makes us more useful than we realized." Linak observed the room. Humans moved naturally, laughed, and interacted, yet every subtle gesture was reflected in their physiology. She realized that humans' true power was not just in strength, speed, or endurance. It was in their ability to link emotion and action. Courage, care, and responsibility amplified their biology in ways no other species could match. Later, Linak prepared her final report for the Council. She summarized the findings. Humans were not a threat, but a species of adaptive guardians. Their temporary adaptation reflected courage and responsibility, and it responded to situations requiring protection, cooperation, or quick action. Unpredictability did not equal danger. It indicated responsiveness and resilience. She also recommended future collaboration. Humans could teach other species about adaptive behavior, cooperation under stress, and the integration of emotion and biology. Their unique traits were valuable not just for survival, but for building trust, alliances, and mutual protection across species. That evening, Linak returned to the observation chamber. The humans were interacting casually. Adam and Claire practiced simple exercises while chatting and laughing. The temporary adaptation appeared briefly during movements that required focus or minor protection, then returned to baseline. Linak observed, fascinated by the precision and efficiency of the responses. "Humans are not just strong or fast," she whispered to herself. "They are precise, adaptable, and guided by care. Their bodies are reflections of their spirit." Adam noticed her observation and asked, "So we're still being studied?" Linak smiled. "Yes, but not for threat assessment. I want to understand you fully. Your biology is extraordinary, and your responses reveal more than just survival. They reveal responsibility, courage, and cooperation." Adam nodded. "Well, I guess humans are full of surprises." Linak chuckled softly. "More than anyone can imagine." Over the next few weeks, Linak continued her studies. She observed humans in a variety of situations: teamwork exercises, problem-solving tasks, and simulated emergencies. Each time, the temporary adaptation appeared when needed, supporting strength, balance, speed, and endurance. Emotional states were the key trigger, and concern for others amplified the response. Humans were not only capable of survival, they were capable of precise, situational guardianship. Finally, the Council requested a joint presentation. Linak, Adam, Claire, and Lisa presented the findings. Council members observed humans performing cooperative tasks. They saw temporary adaptations, quick responses, and careful protection of others. The Council's initial fear had transformed into respect. What had once been alarming was now inspiring. Humans were not just another species. They were a living example of how emotion, responsibility, and biology could work together to produce remarkable guardians. Kara spoke first. "We feared humans because we did not understand them. Now we see that their strength is guided by care, not aggression. They are adaptive, responsive, and capable of extraordinary action when it matters." Torv added, "Their unpredictability is controlled, situational, and directed by responsibility. Humans are not a threat, they are guardians." Linak nodded proudly. "Yes, their biology reflects courage, care, and responsibility. The temporary adaptation you observed is a symbol of these qualities. Humans are capable of responding precisely when needed, guided by emotion and duty." The Council deliberated briefly and then reached a historic conclusion. Humans would be officially recognized as adaptive guardians. Their unique biology and emotional integration made them valuable allies and protectors. Species across the galaxy could learn from humans' capacity for controlled adaptation and situational responsibility. Adam, Claire, and the other humans celebrated quietly. They had no idea how remarkable their bodies and instincts appeared to other species. Linak observed them and smiled. What had once shocked her as a mysterious growth was now understood as a symbol of the human spirit, courage, care, and precision under pressure. That night, Linak reflected on the journey. Humans had taught her something beyond biology. They had shown that strength and adaptation were not only physical, they were guided by emotion, responsibility, and care for others. Their temporary adaptation was a reflection of their character, a window into their capacity to protect, cooperate, and endure. As the humans slept, Linak watched quietly. She realized that the species she had once feared as unpredictable and potentially dangerous was now a model of resilience and guardianship. Their biology, integrated with emotion, had transformed her understanding of life, survival, and cooperation. In the days that followed, humans continued to interact with Korathi researchers. The temporary adaptation appeared when needed, always precise, always situational, and always guided by responsibility. Linak continued her observations, documenting the extraordinary link between emotion and biology. Humans were no longer just a species under study. They were partners, allies, and living examples of how courage and care could shape physiology into a remarkable system of guardianship. And Linak knew that she had witnessed something rare and precious, a species whose strength was not only in muscle or speed, but in the perfect balance of body, mind, and heart. Humans were extraordinary, and their potential had only begun to be understood. For the first time, Linak felt complete respect and hope for a species she once thought she might fear. Humans were not threats, they were guardians. And in the quiet of the observation chamber, she smiled, knowing that the galaxy had just gained a new understanding of what it meant to be truly remarkable.